a date which will live in infamy.
Our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads.
Hello, my name is Shelley Isley. I'm a witness to the 9/11 tragedy in New York City. On September 10th, I was scheduled to be in New York City for business, and my sister also had business in New York City, so we decided to take the trip together. So we arrived on September 10th, a beautiful weekend, and did some sightseeing. We actually took a bus tour to the World Trade Center. And then on Monday, September 11th, I was waiting for a taxi cab in Times Square right below ABC News, and grabbed some coffee, was waiting in Times Square, and was watching the large screen TV at ABC News, and saw a small plane, what looked like a small plane, run into the Trade Center tower. So we changed our clothes, started walking down towards the Trade Center area to just try to figure out what is going on. And while we were taking that stroll, we were hearing F-16s fly above our head, which was very scary, and we were catching bits and pieces of news reports that the president had been taken up in Air Force One. They were keeping him in the air to keep him safe. And as I'm flashing away, I'm watching the tower fall, and there was no tower behind it. As we were walking and as I was flashing pictures, there's one picture I didn't share because it's of my sister, who just turned around in horror and looked at me, and I'm going to try not to. Once we saw those towers fall, as did everybody else, frightened people started climbing. The trees aren't very big in the trek down Broadway towards the Trade Center, but people were climbing those trees to get a better view, and they were climbing up on the parked trucks that were along the Broadway street. Our hotel happened to be in Times Square, so as we got into Times Square, everybody, just crowds and crowds just kept gathering, and one of the pictures that I have is there's no cars on the road anymore at all in New York City. It's people standing on the streets, standing in Times Square. So as we're standing in Times Square watching that ABC News big screen, there was a lot of anger. There was a lot of swearing, yelling at the TV. Most disturbing moments, oh, there's so many. But one that really shook us to the core was later that evening catching a news report, and it's something we didn't feel should have been shown, and it's in some of the newspapers that I have as well that I brought back with me, is close-ups of the people jumping out of the buildings in the Trade Center towers. I just don't feel they should have showed that close-up of a picture of those people, because you could actually see the clothes that they were wearing, the outfits they had on that day. FedEx trucks and UPS trucks were being called down to the site. They were to be used as makeshift morgues because they had planned on, the original count was they thought 20,000 people had lost their lives in that tragedy. Then they realized, well, a lot of people had gotten out, and there was maybe just 2,000 to 3,000 left in those buildings. One of the lessons, or one of the things that I really went through, it took some soul searching, but I realized, family is more important than anything else. And I eventually, after this tragedy, quit my job for a year. I couldn't travel anymore. I needed to be home with the kids and didn't want to put them through the stress of anything like that ever again.